Okay, so now I'm going to mix the dough for a sourdough bowl. So I have my clear Cambro container that is a 6-quart container, and I just measure right in here, and then I mix in here. Everything I do is in here. So I'm going to put it on my scale and turn it on, and it will zero out to 0 grams. I need 165 grams of starter. This starter is a little bit past peak. You can see that it rose up to about here and now it's falling back again. You can use the starter at peak or even after it's completely fallen. All right, so I'm going to measure out at least 165 grams, if not a little bit more. I prefer to have more starter than less. It will help to increase the time or decrease um, the time it takes to proof. So I have, ooh, that's a little, well, I'm going to take a little bit out because I have a little too much. 165 is the least. Right now I have, well, all right, that was 162. Okay, 178, perfect. I'm going to use the rest of the starter that's in that jar to make more starter. So to this, now I have 179 grams of starter. I'm going to stick with my traditional recipe, which calls for 400 grams of water between 90 and 100 degrees. So I stick my meat thermometer in and I am at 97 degrees. So I'm going to measure 400 grams of water into right into my starter. My dog has seen a squirrel outside. So this measuring cup is pretty close to 400 grams. I'm at 400 grams now. I have just a teeny tiny bit left in there. Okay, so now I'm going to take my dough whisk and I'm going to mix the starter and the water together. And I'm going to mix it until it's a milky color and that none of the starter is really clinging to itself. Starter likes to cling to itself, but I want to mix it in so that it is distributed well in the water and that none is really clinging to the dough whisk anymore. I still get a little bit, so I'm going to continue to stir. Okay, all right. Oh, there's a glob on the side. I want to get it as evenly distributed in the water as possible. Okay, still clinging. It is a nice milky color. I'm almost there. Okay, so it's not really clinging to the dough whisk anymore, so I'm going to put my container back onto the scale and tear it out to 0. And then I'm going to measure in 400 grams of flour. In my container, I don't have anywhere, 650 grams of flour. I did 400 grams of water. It's 650 grams of flour. Okay. Right now I have 157 grams in there. The flour that I use is the Kirkland all-purpose organic unbleached flour. I find this to be the most cost-effective. I like unbleached organic flour. The all-purpose is just fine for making bread, even though many people say you have to use bread flour. I don't agree. So I have 157. I need to get to 650. I'm at 324, 448, 555, 650. $6.49. So I'm just going to add a tad more, $6.50. Okay. Now I'm going to remove this from my scale, and I'm going to put this little glass thing and tear it out to 0. The reason I'm doing this is because now I need to add my salt. I use fine sea salt. I've never tried anything else. This works fine. But last time I made dough on a video, I poured it right into the flour, and there was a chunk, and I went way over the 15 grams I'm supposed to have. So from now on, I'm measuring my salt in a glass container, because the salt inhibits the fermentation process, and the dough doesn't rise as much. And then it also doesn't, the dough that I baked with that had a slightly salty taste. It wasn't too bad though. So now I'm measuring 15 grams of salt into my little glass container. And this way I have no error in my flour. So I'm just gonna dump it in. And now I'm going to start to mix the flour and everything together. I have to get my step stool though, because I find that stirring at this level kind of irritates my shoulder a little bit. So if I step up here, I don't get to see you, but you get to see the dough, and it doesn't hurt my shoulder. I'm not reaching up and over. So I'm gonna stir this and mix it until all of the flour is incorporated. And you can see it's starting to get there. It doesn't take long. And then I want to get down into the corners of my container and make sure there's no dry flour left there, and that there's no wet, there's nothing that's unmixed in the little crevices in the corners of my container. So I'm sweeping around in those corners right now. I'm almost there. I still have a little bit of unincorporated flour, so I'm going to continue on. And this is what's called a shaggy dough. I'm just going to push the dough in. I wash my hands so many times while I am doing sourdough. My hands get very raw. So I have to use a lot of moisturizer. I'm trying to use all natural moisturizers without fragrance, because I find that to be better for my hands. So, okay, so it's almost completely incorporated. I'm just going to stir it another like 15 or 30 seconds just to make sure that everything is all mixed together well. And that I don't have any blobs of flour and no blobs of starter that have not been mixed in well. Okay, it looks good. And again, this is like called a shaggy dough. It is not smooth. There's big, chunks, and as you progress through the through stretching and folding, or coil and folding, you will see that the dough will smooth out much better. So I'm gonna be done for now. I'm gonna cover this, and I usually bulk ferment my dough in the microwave because it's a little bit warmer than my countertop. They say between 70 and 80 degrees is ultimate. My kitchen is about 67 degrees right now, but inside my microwave with the door ajar, and which keeps the light on, it gets between 70 and 80. So that's perfect. I close the lid tight. If you don't have a Cambro type of a container, if you're using a bowl, cover it with saran wrap, or you can use like these shower cap things that you can get on Amazon, or even the dollar store, I hear. But anyway, so you want it covered to keep the moisture in. And so now I'm gonna put this in my microwave with the light on. door will be ajar. A lot of people use their ovens. My oven was too hot. I used my thermometer to measure it and it was too hot, but microwave with the door ajar works great for me. Now I'm just gonna wait 45 minutes to an hour before I do my first stretch and fold. And then 30 minutes after that, I'll do a coil and fold. And 30 minutes after that, I'll do another coil and fold, and then allow it to double. I like to let my dough double. A lot of people say not to let it double.